Hey, Adonis Lenzy here, station manager at WHTN, CTN, Nashville. Thank you guys for tuning in to the amazing docuseries that you're about to see, man, from the 90s worship night featuring Lindell Cooley. We were just so fortunate to get him into the studio. He came out so you guys can get a taste of him before we show the docuseries. So, Lindell, thanks for coming out and
Good to
hanging
be
out
here.
with us behind the scenes, man.
Yeah.
I saw the docuseries. I know our viewers are going to be blessed by it and encouraged by it. But just in case nobody knows who you are.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think people are living today that will not know who you are, that have been in the church arena, church world from way back when, but that's okay.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
30 years ago, and came on the scene. Everybody remembers the Brownsville Revival, Pensacola, Florida. Tell us a little bit about that, how that got started, and just your heart behind all of that.
Well, I lived here in Nashville.
Okay.
And I was working in music here as an arranger and producer, and I had been a part of a church here as a arranger for their choir, Christ Church. And I was invited to come and be the worship leader at Brownsville Assembly of God in Pensacola, Florida, around probably the end of March 1995. And that's a very miraculous thing and a long story all in itself. But I accepted the offer.
Mm-hmm.
My first Sunday was April 9th, I believe the 9th. It was Palm Sunday.
Okay.
And taught the choir a couple of songs. We sang. Then April kind of drug on. At the end of May, the pastor of the church, who was raised by his mother, his father had abandoned him when he was a child, she passed away.
Wow,
so he kind of went into retreat, handed me the church credit card, and we had these folks called the McGregors coming to do a 3-night revival. And he said, entertain them. I just can't do it right now. So I'm entertaining them, and that was just a few weeks. That was the end of May. And then I was actually in the Ukraine with Christ Church Choir on Father's Day when it fell. We'd been praying for a revival. We'd been doing Sunday night services, the prayer services, and they were catching on. It was like worship was happening. It was like a family. We would have maybe 1,000 folks or something. They'd show up for prayer on Sunday nights.
Wow.
And at the end of the prayer service, it was like working where they were giving you requests. Hey, sing this, and the kids were sitting on the stage, on the steps. It was very laid back.
Laid back, yeah.
And I would just worship, and we would worship sometimes for an hour, hour and a half after the prayer meeting.
Wow.
Leading up to revival.
Okay.
So then on Father's Day, Steve Hill came to preach for us, and he had preached at that church many times before. He was a missionary, and it just exploded. I mean, God started moving. God started healing people. People were getting saved and meeting Jesus, and it just started every night. They said, well, let's come back tonight. Because the Father's Day service started at 10 a.m. and ended at 5 p.m., and we had to start again at 6 p.m.
Okay, that's like a marathon right there. That's
and then that one went...
When's the last time you've been to church that long?
Well, then the 6 p.m. service went till 6 a.m.
Wow.
And so everybody said, well, you know what? Let's come back Monday night. So let's come back Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So we did night by night by night. And then it just started being regional, people coming from Louisiana.
People came from all over,
Tennessee.
busloads of people.
Well, they started, just the states surrounding. They were hearing it because there was no internet.
That's true.
All right.
True.
So
it was word of mouth.
It was word of mouth pretty much.
Maybe radio.
Maybe
radio, but definitely word of mouth.
Maybe. And then it just started getting word out, and people started coming. And then by the third week, nations were coming.
Yeah.
We were having Germany, people come from Germany, Japan, and it just took off from there.
Wow.
The first Labor Day in September, the first Labor Day in '95, we had 4,000 or 5,000 people there.
Wow.
And lined up around the building 2 times to get in from 4 o'clock in the morning. The building would fill in 16 seconds. When we'd open the door, it'd fill in 16 seconds.
Hungry for God.
And they would stand in line all day long. And I remember those days where I would literally just, I would drive to the church and cry.
Wow.
Because I would see these people, Pensacola in the summertime is a hot place, and it's humid. And and they would stand out there with umbrellas, and it was like a like a tailgate party out there. I mean, people just everywhere, and every kind of person you could imagine. It wasn't just church people.
It was everybody.
There was some kid reading a Stephen King novel. Just, you could tell he wasn't a believer. He had all kinds of demonic tats and piercings. And
but he was there.
Well, he was asked, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I heard God's in there."
Wow.
So he showed up, and it was that kind of thing. And you couldn't get a seat, and that went on every night for a long time.
One of the things I appreciate when I was, looking at the docuseries, and if you're watching this, you're about to see that as we're going to roll into it. But you said we didn't want to be superstars.
No.
And your heart behind it was so pure. And as in the docuseries, man, when I saw that segment, it just kind of grabbed me, because I'm like, that's what we need today in this generation. People that are not trying to, do the record deal or big label. How do we just get back to just bringing in God's presence?
Well, if I could say this, revival is a buzzword right now. Revival this, revival that, revival. But, when you bake a cake, there are ingredients. When you have a move of God, there are ingredients. There's a couple of really big ingredients missing, and I hope people are listening to me.
Yeah.
If I knew how to have a revival, I'd whip one up every week. It's like, let's do that again. It's wonderful to see 400,000 people get saved. I'd love that. But there are ingredients to it, and the number one ingredient, I would say, is brokenness. Because John had just lost his mother, pastor. Yeah. He was broken. Steve had just come off the mission field. He was broken. I had just come from Nashville. I was at the worst place I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
So when God breathed into our church, it was like, we get to do this? We didn't feel like we should be there doing that. We didn't feel worthy to do that. And so it was almost like we felt like if we over-prepared for it, we would be offensive to the Holy Spirit, because you can get a show everywhere.
Yeah.
The last thing the world needs right now is a well put together show.
That's true.
They need an encounter with Jesus.
Yeah.
And an encounter with Jesus comes on the backside of farms with David taking care of the sheep. It comes when the woman is caught in the act of sin, and Jesus tells the Pharisees, throw the first stone. It's in those moments of brokenness when people, the disciples running for their lives after Jesus' death and resurrection, and he goes, go to the upper room, and they're about as broken as they can get.
I love that.
Number one thing, and that's what is hard to find in our generation, with everybody kind of self-adulating a lot. It's just true hunger and going, I'm nothing without the Lord.
The Lord.
And all of us in leadership felt that way.
Love it. Hold that thought, Pastor Cooley. We're going to come back, and man, that's just. I've never heard it said like that. It's the brokenness. Listen, I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy and be inspired by God as you watch this docuseries. And stay tuned, because at the end of it, we're going to have Chad Gentry with us. He's going to be on the set with us. He is the visionary behind 90s Worship Night, and even the first docuseries with Lindell Cooley. He's going to be on the set with us, talking more about the vision and why this is so important for our generation today. Man, I know you got much more to say, so you're going to hear from him again right after this docuseries. And we're back. What an amazing docuseries. I know you were blessed by it, as many people that have watched it. I'm still back here in the studio with Lindell Cooley, and we also have here, as promised, Chad Gentry. He's the visionary behind the docuseries and the 90s worship movement that is going on. So Chad, tell us a little bit about that, and tell us your connection with Lindell and how all of that came about, so that we could provide this for people to watch that.
Yeah, well, my journey started in worship ministry at the beginning of 1996.
Okay.
Which, unbeknownst to me at the time, was right when Lindell Cooley was getting ready to put out what was Brownsville Worship Volume 1 and Volume 2.
That's right.
2 albums that just completely
and you've got all the
changed
albums.
my life. Of course.
We were backstage doing autographs.
Yeah.
You got them all.
I've got them all.
Okay.
And that was really what I cut my teeth on, in worship.
Yeah.
It was just such an impactful time and an impactful ministry. I actually got to travel down to, be a part of some services at the Brownsville Revival in July of 1997.
Wow.
So that was just,
He just dated you.
I know.
Well, I dated
Gig is up.
myself. I dated
I'm as
myself.
old as dirt.
But it was just such a just a transformational time, for me, just in ministry and my walk with the Lord. And kind of as time moved on, you're nostalgic of that, but I never had any plans of revisiting or doing any sort of project. I'm not a filmmaker. And really it wasn't until the year of the pandemic, 2020.
Okay.
When our mutual friend, Pastor Danny Chambers, passed away.
Yes.
It was just a sorrowful time. It's a really rough year.
Yeah.
And I pray, I was like, Lord, I'd love to do something to honor, Danny's memory,
Yeah.
with worship ministry. Here I am, send me. And December of 2020, I just had this divine download about starting 90s worship night.
Wow.
So we started at the beginning of 2021, and a lot of supernatural things were happening, and just God confirming His word that this is what we needed to do.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my first thoughts was, well, I know the first person we need to get a hold of is Lindell Cooley.
Cooley.
So, worked on that, called a mutual friend of ours. And before I got off the phone, he texted Lindell and got the green light for us to sit down.
Full circle.
And do it, know. And I tell you, that was probably...
And what a great job. I mean, honestly, may say, the docuseries is
it's
amazing.
phenomenal. And as you've watched it, it is a phenomenal
It was well
series.
done, well put together.
Yeah.
I thank you for that. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Well, it was an honor, and getting to tell those stories, and just really for me, and I know Lindell's experienced this too, is just, countless, DMs and emails and text messages from people I hadn't talked to for years, or complete strangers from all over the world who've watched this episode and have really been impacted by it. And a lot of them, had been, at the revival at some point in time, or maybe went to the school down there. And then some, just being, millennials who weren't even born probably.
So
in the heyday of the Brownsville Revival, just learning about this for the first time, but just kind of the educational component, that the episode provides is really had an impact.
And it's more than just a retro type of thing. You know how they bring clothes back into style, things like that. And even we talked about it earlier, Pastor Cooley, just. Music back then and how things have just changed over the years. What made you so quickly respond to Chad's call for this 90s worship and to go back and revisit that? Was that something that you felt was needed in today's generation?
No, I was just honored that someone wanted to do it.
Okay.
I was like, this guy wants to do this? Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go. Just honored.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, I'm so glad you did, man. And we've been friends for a long time as well, and we've talked about that, and it just resonated in our hearts and spirits. Like, this is what this generation needs. We sing the songs today, nothing else but Jesus. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I wonder how much did we actually walk that out and really mean that? And when I go back to those songs from Brownsville Revival and just hearing the heart behind you guys in that docu-series, it keeps playing over in my mind. We didn't want to be superstars.
That's right.
We didn't want to be superstars. And I think that's what this generation needs. It's not about being superstars and being on stage. And you said back in the green room, we were talking, you said something like, there are some folks that God will withhold from that spotlight.
He will.
Because they're not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be there.
They're His.
They're His. They belong to Him and His kingdom. And
well, the idea of ministering to the Lord is what we would do in those services. And that's a lost art.
Yeah.
We minister to the people. And worship is ministry to the Lord.
Yeah.
That you invite the people to join you.
I love it.
Worship is not for the people, it's for the Lord.
It's for the Lord. It's for the Lord, man. It is. And so we've got about a minute left here, guys. Thank y'all for being a part of this and just hanging out with us at our CTN studios and just being a part of our audience and communicating to the viewers. Chad, we got about a minute left. Tell the viewers where they can find more information about the 90s worship movement that is going on and how they can connect with you and your ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first place to go would be our website, which is 90sworshipnight.com, spelled out NINETIES, worshipnight.com. We have several more episodes that we are in post-production, planning to release in the coming months and into the next couple of years. So we invite you to tune in, for that. All those links are on our website, so that's the easiest, place to find it. And still too, I challenge everyone, go on YouTube, because that's where we've, exclusively released episode 1. get the episode. Text it to all of your friends or
Yes,
anyone that you know.
Get it out there.
God did not want this behind a paywall.
Yes.
That was really the direction of the Holy Spirit was, let's let this be accessible to everyone out there.
Wow. Well, thank you guys once again for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having
It's
us.
been fun. You guys were a blast. Once again, stay connected. Make sure you pass this along to other people. God is doing something great and amazing with 90s worship.